how's it going, everyone? Wanted to talk a little bit today about credit. I get a lot of questions in regards to credit, and obviously credit's kind of where the basis of where it starts when you're looking to get approved for a home loan. Credit is a big one, right? So want to go through some of the steps and the things that you want to be aware of. I understand that credit is not something that we are taught. A lot of folks hear things from their family, a lot of from friends. They get a lot of advice from people that really don't technically know anything about credit. And so it's vitally important that you do your due diligence and understand. And I'm going to give you some key highlighted points here today to point out some things that you should be aware of when it comes to credit. That way you can get it dialed in. And obviously, if you need any assistance at all, you can reach out to myself or my team, and we'll be glad to help you with that. But first and foremost, what I want to encourage you when it comes to credit is that you want to be aware. What do I mean by that? You want to be aware of where you're at with your credit. It's amazing to me that I'll actually be on the phone with somebody that wants to get pre-approved, and I'll ask them, when's the last time you took a look at your credit? And they'll be like, I haven't looked at my credit in over a year, or I don't know where my credit score is, or I haven't taken a look at my credit. Guys, there's so many free services out there between Credit Karma and Credit Sesame. And again, I'm not saying these are great services. Really, they're ideal for you to just monitor your credit, to understand what's on your credit profile, because awareness really comes down to what is on your credit profile. What are you dealing with? Do you have a credit profile? Do you have trade lines that are currently open right now, or do you not have any credit whatsoever? Or do you have a bunch of collections, or do you have things that are showing up for maybe somebody else, or that you co-signed with somebody, or whatever the case may be? So ideally, you want first awareness. Where is your credit at? Credit Sesame, Credit Karma, those are great services that you could begin to start with that process. So that's the first thing that I want to talk about. And then credit score is not the end all be all, because there's a lot that goes into credit, but I get a lot of calls about like what goes into a credit score? How can I get a better credit score? What are the things that cause the credit score to go up or go down, or whatever the case may be? So I want to talk about three buckets right now that are the most important things when it comes to credit. The first and most important bucket or percentage of credit, 35% of your credit score, is on-time payments. How are you making your payments? Are they on time? Guys, I've seen somebody literally be late on a Kohl's charge card, $25. Everything else be perfectly fine, and one late payment because they had an oversight or they didn't have it set up on automatic payments, and it dropped their credit score 40, 60 points just from that one late. So it's vitally important that you make sure that your payments are made on time. Remember, they can't report you late until you're over 30 days late. So you can be 10 days late, 5 days late. Now, if you're doing that on a credit card, I will warn you that those companies will charge a late fee. So in addition to your minimum $25 payment, you're also now making a $25 late charge, or whatever the agreement is with the credit card companies. So you want to be aware of that. Your next bucket, or what you want to be aware of, is utilization. And this is 25% of your credit score. That means basically if you have a $1,000 credit card available balance or available credit, in other words, you can borrow up to $1,000 on your credit card, and you have a $100 balance on that card, you have what's called a 10% utilization, which means that you're using 10% of what is available in credit. And what does that mean? That means that your credit utilization is 25% of your score. They want to see how you're managing your funds. Are all your credit cards maxed? Do you have them maxed out, or do you have your balances manageable? So I call it the good, better, and best method. Now, I always want to go with the best, but if you have to carry a balance on your credit card, you always want to make sure that it's less than 50%. So that would be the good. The better would be under 30%, and best would be between 0 and 5%. Really, the sweet spot being somewhere between 1 and 2% is where you want to be. Now, obviously, it's not ideal. Some people don't have the money to pay their credit cards down, and whatever the case may be. So they have to manage. They have to figure out ways to navigate through that to try to mitigate and keep that score as high as possible. So obviously, chunking away at it as much as you can. but you always want to make sure that that credit utilization is low as possible. Then the last bucket is history, and history being not your credit history, because we've already talked about that. History is how long has the account been open. If you just opened a credit card 3 months ago, it's not seasoned. It's only been open for 3 months. They want to see credit cards that have been open for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, right? Now, obviously you go, well, how am I ever going to be able to do that? I'm brand new to credit. I'm 20 years old. I'm trying to establish a credit profile. Well, first you want to try to open a credit card on your own. The other thing that you can do is what I did for my daughter. And what I did is I added her on as an authorized user. She had 0 credit. I added her on one of my credit cards as an authorized user, which allowed her to take that credit history and put it onto her credit report, which allowed her to actually piggyback onto that history, which gave her a trade line. Now it marked it as a borrower's auth account, so it marks it correctly, but what it did is it allowed her to establish a credit score, and then she was able to go out and actually apply for credit cards on her own. And then I encouraged her to set up automatic payments so her payments are never late, making sure her utilization is low as possible, and then get those accounts seasoned. And as she does that, those accounts are going to continue to get better and her score is going to go up. Guys, some of the best credit that I've ever seen has been driven by credit cards. Now, right, wrong, or indifferent, it does not matter what your opinion is about credit cards, but credit cards is what drives the credit profile. Now, I'm not saying you can't have a good mix, auto loans, credit cards, mortgages, installment loans. The credit reports like that. The other percentages outside of the 3 buckets that we just talked about are made up of utilization and credit mix and those types of things. But one of the highest credit scores I ever saw, which was close to an 830, this particular client literally had several credit cards that have been open for 10 years. Her credit utilization was less than 1%, and she had a high, very, very low utilization, never been late, and long history. And that was when it convinced me many years ago that the credit reporting system is driven by credit cards. So it's vitally important that you establish some credit card history. Again, credit cards are a necessary evil, right? A lot of people say, well, I don't want credit cards because I just get in trouble. Well, I challenge you. Is that a credit card problem? Does the credit card really care if you charge on it or not? No, it doesn't. It's an inanimate object. It is a mechanism by getting you from point A to point B when it comes to establishing your credit. You have to be the responsible one. So literally, I'm going to encourage you and tell you a little bit about myself personally. What I do is I don't use my debit card for anything other than pulling cash out of my bank. I don't use my debit card to pay for things online. I don't use my debit card to put gas in my car. I don't use debit card to do anything other than pulling cash out of my bank account. That is it. Number one, I don't want my identity stolen. I don't want my card and my money stolen out of my bank account. I use credit cards for absolutely everything. And your credit card is set up to where literally you can go make a $1,000 purchase on your credit card and come home immediately and make that payment on the card. So it acts as a debit card, right? But you're still getting credit. The banks offer points. There's just a lot of things that I'm not going to be able to get into on this video that are so detrimentally beneficial to you when it comes to having credit cards and those types of things. So I hope this has been helpful to you when it comes to credit. There's a lot of other nuances. We can get into collections and those types of things, and that'll be for another video. But I hope this has been very helpful to you guys. Credit is the building block of getting yourself into a position where you can qualify for a home loan and really to navigate your entire lives. And I'm here to help inform and educate as much as I can. Leave a comment, message me if you have questions specifically. I'd love to help you because that's what I do. Anyhow, hope you have a great rest of your day. And until next time, bye for now.